Good afternoon, Facebook friends. It is Wednesday, and that means it's time for another video. So today I have a video about teething and sleep because that is what, like, honestly, a huge thing for parents. Teething and sleep is something that I get a lot of questions about. It's something that I want to address and talk about so that you guys know what to do. You know how much teething affects sleep or doesn't affect sleep, and you can know how long it lasts, and just a few other tidbits here and there. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was, should I still sleep train when when my child is teething? Should I start sleep training or should I stop if they start teething during sleep training? Should I still do the sleep training while my baby's teething? And the short answer to that is yes, of course you should. If we waited for our little ones to stop teething before we started sleep training, or stopped in the middle of it to wait till they were done teething, we could be waiting a very, very long time. That is because teeth can come in all together. They can come in at different times, but slowly but surely. I mean, if you want to wait for the teeth to come in, you are literally going to be waiting a long time. So it's not something that I recommend doing. I recommend following through the sleep training, whether there is teething or not. I don't recommend stopping it if they start teething during the sleep training either, because there's just no, you'd be waiting forever. There's no reason to do that. The only time I would say to stop the sleep training is if your baby is sick, or your baby is just about to get a vaccine, or they've just received vaccines. Then you can definitely put sleep training on hold. When it comes to your baby being sick, you have to be the judge of that. If they're really sick, then I would say probably you should stop. But if they've just got a small little cold and it's not really that big of a deal, then I think that they would be fine to sleep train. But as I said before, you're the parent. You need to be the judge of whether you can sleep train your baby or not during that time. Sorry, my son is right beside me today, and he's just playing with his little kitty toy. So you might hear him in the background, but anyway, I'm just going to power through this video regardless. And he might make a little cameo at some point in time too. Hey, buddy? Okay, so how long will teething last? I mean, this is a hard one to say because teething can come and go. It can last short time. It can last a long time. But what we do know for sure is that teething gets blamed for a lot of things. It can get blamed for poor moods, crankiness, frequent night wakings, and poor naps or poor sleep in general. And, you know, a lot of the times that doesn't have to do with sleep training. A lot of the times those things have to do with just simply with sleep issues. Because usually once the sleep issues get resolved, those teething problems, they just miraculously disappear. So usually it's because teething wasn't the problem to begin with, and usually it's because of actual sleep issues going on, and some other things that could be happening as well. But usually it's related to sleep problems, and so one thing about that though is I wanted to mention is a lot of babies aren't affected by teething at all. My two daughters included. My son, he was a little bit different of a story. He's barely affected by it, but he did have some issues here and there. But that being said, that doesn't mean your child is not going to ever have is never going to have teething problems, because they totally could. They totally could be affected by teething, and they could be in pain. That's normal. But what I want to say about that is, how long does it last? So let's answer that question. How long does the teething discomfort last for a baby? And we do know that it usually isn't that long. It's definitely not weeks on end like a lot of parents believe. Teething really only affects a child when the tooth, 4 days before the tooth is erupting, and 3 days afterwards. So that's it. I mean, other than that, usually it's not related to teething problems, and it's more likely due to something else, probably sleep problems. So yeah, how long will it last? Not as long as you think. So what can be done? What can be done about all this? That is the $1 million question. And so a really, really, really important thing to do during teething, if your baby is affected by by teething discomfort. And by the way, if your baby does have teething discomfort and you really think that they need some kind of medicine to help with their pain, then I would definitely tell you to talk to your pediatrician about what you can do to give your baby pain meds during this time. I definitely would say to talk to your pediatrician about that. Don't go off what other people say, and don't just do something without talking to your doctor first. It's really important that you do talk to your pediatrician about that before moving forward with any kind of pain relief. Anyway, so what can be done? Well, you want to stay consistent. I mean, I say this all the time with sleep training stuff, but this is literally so, so important in so many ways. And when I'm talking about stay consistent, I'm talking about with the schedule, with your routine. Keep it the same. Now is not the time to be switching up their schedule and routine, because that's going to hinder the process. It's going to make things even harder for you and your baby. So if you just stick to the routine and the schedule as much as you possibly can, I mean, stick to it, then it will actually help the teething disruption pass quicker, because you're still sticking to that routine. You're not lengthening naps. You're not, putting them down earlier. You're not putting them down later. You're sticking to the routine, and that is very helpful for a baby. Babies love consistency. So do children. So another thing that you want to be doing is to make sure that this is another important one, are not assisting your child to sleep. A lot of parents, when their baby is teething and it's disrupting their sleep, a lot of parents will give in and start assisting their child to sleep. That means they're rocking them to sleep, swaying them to sleep, bouncing them to sleep, etc. Feeding them to sleep is a big one, and that's a big no-no, because the Feed to Sleep Association is really big and a really hard one to break. So you don't want to accidentally create a sleep habit or go back to one that you were using before that works. You don't want to do that during this time. You don't want to be assisting your baby to sleep. They need to be falling asleep independently, or self-settling is another word for it, because if not, it will create more issues long after the teething is over with that you're going to have to break. You're going to have to break that habit. You're going to get through the teething, and then you're going to have to break this habit, and it'll just cause more disruptions to sleep than you need to deal with, and that don't need to happen. So another thing that's super important is doing that, making sure to not start assisting your child to sleep or go back to doing what you were doing before to get them to sleep. Stay consistent in making sure they are falling asleep on their own, and stick with that. Always, 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 your baby should be falling asleep independently without your help. And then the last thing that I want to say is that ask your doctor what you can give them. I mentioned that. I feel like it's really important for me to say that again. Don't just go and start giving them something, or maybe your friend or your mother-in-law or someone tells you, oh, well, I use this. No, go talk to your pediatrician. It is so important, okay? And that, I think, is all I have for you today. I did want to add couple little tidbits there, little pro tips for you. Coming from a mom of 3, so I've been there before. Some good little teething things that you can use that are natural are putting a cloth, like a cloth in the freezer, a wet one in the freezer, and letting it get frozen, and then taking it out and letting your baby suck on that. They love that. Also, there is teething rings that you can put in the fridge. You're not supposed to put them in the freezer anymore. Last time I checked, they're just supposed to go in the fridge now. That's another great thing for babies to chew on when they're teething during the day. If you can give them as much time during the day to really do what they need to do to make their gums feel better, and to get that out of their system. At night, it might be a little bit easier. The discomfort might not be as bad, but I mean, every baby's different, but you can always try those things. And then another thing I wanted to mention was that if your baby isn't feeling discomfort during the day from teething, but then you lay them down at night and you think that they're being discomforted, in discomfort at night, more than likely they're not. This is because when you're laying down, the blood, instead of being here, it will actually spread out throughout your body instead of being in one place. So laying down actually relieves them of teething pain, which is something I didn't know, but I just found that out recently. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Super important to know that if they're not affected by it in the day, more than likely they're not affected by it in the night either, and vice versa. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great week. Happy Wednesday and happy weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.